Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to today's video where I'm going to teach you how you can use this trick to get maximum rage at the start of boss fights. You can also do it during the downtime of boss intermissions like Maven, Cyrus. You could probably even do it here. You can do it during Syrian Exarch. And there's a lot of different times that you can use it. And this trick is very, very OP, especially if your character is not really great. Now, this is more of a trick that I would probably say you should use during during league start scenarios, as you usually don't need a DPS, especially for Uber bosses once you get like 20-30 mil DPS, and you're pretty much just going to instantly kill the boss. But this is very, very important for a character like this one. This is my SSF Bone Shatter character and BPL doing Uber Eater of World. And as you can see, getting damage is quite a struggle. You can see me here. I'm pretty much dancing around. And if you look at the rage here, it's at 8, and that's pretty low overall. And if you ever look at the PoE for Bone Shatter, most of the time they calculate the rage as 50 and then they have Berserk on the build. So overall, your damage is a lot lower than it seems if you're not able to get max rage. And the only way of generating rage for a build like this is literally to get rage on hit gloves as the implicit, or you can get the axe mastery for 1 rage per hit every 1 second. So it would take you 50 seconds to get 50 rage. Now, there is a trick that I found out, and I'm not really sure. I think Car might have done it before, but it's not really widely used even in hardcore. And it's definitely not used in softcore trade. But let me show you what it involves, and it will teach you something about stun, because the trick that we're going to be using is revolving around Warlord's Mark. Now, in the past, people used to get max rage by Chain Hook Hydra Spear. However, you do see here, not too long ago, Hydra Spear actually got bricked by balance changes, and you can't actually hit the Hydra Spear more than once a second. So in order to get max rage with Chain Hook Hydra Spear, it will take you 50 seconds before you can get 50 rage. Now, more than ever, it is extremely important to maximize your DPS at the start of the fights, and that's pretty much because a lot of times the boss has to spawn in before it can do any animations, and most of your damage is going to be pretty front-loaded, so you want to make sure you have the max rage at the start. And this is especially important, especially if you're playing a melee build where the boss TPs around a lot, that you're able to maximize your DPS windows, as that's pretty much the name of the game for melee. So in order to first understand what we are doing in order to get max rage, we have to understand what Warlord's Mark actually does. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly is Warlord's Mark? Well, Warlord's Mark is a mark that's also a curse that allows you to generate rage if you stun the enemy. Now, this skill is probably most commonly associated with Bone Shatter in order to generate rage while mapping. However, it has also seen some use cases with Forbidden Rite, where people are using Forbidden Rite to trigger the cast on damage taken, and then you cast the Warlord's Mark. And when you use the cast on damage taken, a Warlord's Mark can actually apply to white mobs. So, you can definitely cast Warlord's Mark on white mobs, and what that means is that white mobs have a lot lower HP, and the stun chance is calculated based off the damage you deal in a single hit compared to the target's maximum life. So it's not guaranteed to stun unless you do 50% of the maximum life of the mob. So the total duration is calculated by your stun duration, and then the defender's increased stun recovery, and the stun chance is calculated by 200 times damage divided by defender's effective max life. Now, you can lower the defender's effective max life if you have this one thing called lower stun threshold. So that's why people actually were using maces in terms of Bone Shatter, because you're trying to stun the boss or you're trying to stun the rare monsters. And if you lower the stun threshold, it gives them a lower effective max life. So you can lower the effective max life of a mob by up to 75% or even 96% if you stack the stun threshold all the way past to like 150%. Now, in this case, we just need to deal 50% of the max life to have 100% chance to stun, and we're able to combine this with Writhing Jar. So what exactly is Writhing Jar? Writhing Jar is a flask that's pretty commonly used on Slayers mostly, and what it does is it actually allows you to be able to proc Fortify on the worms. You hit the worms, it comes out of the flask, and you get Rage. Or you get Fortify. So 2 Writhing Worms escape the flask when used, and these worms will get killed in 1 hit. So right here it says, Writhing Worms are destroyed when hit. So as soon as you hit them, they're gone. Now, this flask uses 16 to 18 charges, and you're able to recover your life flash charges with Pantheon, Mastery, and Nodes on the Tree. So since it's a hallowed hybrid flask, and it's a life flask technically, you can benefit from Life Flask gain 3 charges every 3 seconds if you haven't used a Life Flask recently. And this is actually very, very important. So we actually look right here. Let's open up PoE real fast so we can actually see what this means. And a lot of people wonder, why do you actually want to have so many Life Flasks? And the reason you want to have all these Life Flasks is pretty much because they're the best way to get recovery for boss fights. So you can see here, this is actually my bossing setup. I'm running 4 Life Flasks, and I do feel like most people should be doing that. So what you can see here is if you take this one node here, Life Flask gain 1 charges every 3 seconds, and then you can get Utility Flask gain 1 charge, or you can get another Life Flask gain 1 charge every 3 seconds, and then you can also get Soul of Rizlata, and you can also potentially get a belt with increased flash charges gain, and there's other nodes here with, I think right here, increased flash charges gain or something like that. But basically, with this flask, you can pretty much have it up the whole time, and whenever you see like a boss or you have an intermission, you press the Writhing Jar Flask and you hit the thing, and then you get fortified for however long you have a spec for. So it's very, very important, because since we're not champion, this actually does allow us to survive like Uber Eater intermission or Siri Exarch intermission when we otherwise wouldn't have fortify up for that whole time. So it's very, very useful for bossing, and I think it's incredibly underused. So you might be wondering, what exactly is the technology? So I think it's easiest if I just show you what you do. So what you have is you could have a weapon swap, and you pretty much only need to have Warlord's Mark in here. It doesn't really matter what you use. You can use whatever skill you want. Now, since my main attack is in the 6th link, so we press Writhing Jar, and you see 2 Worms escape. You can press it right here, and then you melee it, and then you see immediately 22 rage. Now, this is because the stun chance is 100% since we killed a worm in 1 hit. So we spawn it again, and immediately 100% chance to spawn, and then sooner or later, this will recover flash charges, and so you'll pretty much have this through every single intermission of a boss fight. So right here, we have 55 rage, and we can swap back, and you can see right here, the damage is 148k. You press Berserk, and it goes all the way to 220k. So you're effectively almost doubling your damage in a lot of these cases, and it's very, very important. So like I said, press Writhing Jar Flask, cast Warlord's Mark on the worms. It's easier if you have the weapon swap with Warlord's Mark on your offhand, so you don't waste a gem socket. Now you hit them with any attack, which will result them in being stunned as you one-shot it. And this can be done at the start of boss fights. You can do it at the start of invitations. You can do it at intermission for Maven. You can also do it when Cyrus is busy jacking himself off in the sky. Now, there is something you should watch out, is if you do it on invitations with reduced effective curses, as you will actually generate very little rage. Now, I just want to show you a few scenarios, because it's a lot easier to say than do, right? So this is Uber Maven, and I'll make another video going over my experience with Bone Shatter on doing all of the Uber bosses, and I do think that Bone Shatter in an SSF scenario is able to do it without crit. Now right here, you can see I finally killed Maven, and now the intermission starts. So we go over here in the corner, we press the Writhing Jar, Warlord's Mark once, I missed because I'm a baddie. Now do it again, Writhing Jar, and bam, we start this phase with 44 rage, and then we immediately go burst down the Maven, right? So it's super useful right here, and this is another demonstration right here for Uber Shaper. I accidentally died. Now I'm coming back into the fight, or I logged out or something like that. So I hit 1 worm right here, another worm spawn right here, into the fight. Oh my goodness, I'm so bad. And I got the other worm, right? 55 rage into the fight. Last part of the fight, shit's everywhere. Don't know what's going on. It's 20% cold, and it's literally, as you can see here, melee is fucking a shit show for bossing, and that's Uber Shaper there on SSF Bone Shatter. Now, next up, we have another example, and this is pretty much me going into an invitation before the start of the fight. No rage, right? Pop the worm again. Bam. Warlord's Mark again. Warlord's Mark here. Another 44 rage. Start the fight. And then we pretty much just blast the bosses because we actually have the rage at the start. And you can see here, it's immediately dying. And yeah. So overall, lots of different use cases. You can do it actually really, really fast if you get used to it. And it's pretty much, you could even do it inside of the tunnel of Uber Cyrus if you want. You can also do it in the maze to generate rage. So you can press Berserk, Molten Shell, and Focus in order to tank the Cyrus maze. And that's something that I'll show you later on in another video. But very, very cool technology. I do think it's criminally underused in softcore. However, this is more of something that we use at the start of the league where your character is a little bit shittier, or maybe if your character is kind of like not that great or not that gear right now because you're playing a build that can benefit a lot from rage. Now, there's really no other way to generate maximum rage, and if you ever want to make a montage video, being able to start the fight with 50 rage does allow you to actually like kill the boss a lot faster, and it'll look a lot cooler, right? But very, very interesting technology. Now, riding Jar Flash should also be up the whole time. Whenever you need it for bosses, you can pretty much have it up all the time with the Pantheon or the nodes on the tree, and this allows you to generate rage. And more importantly, this Flask is really good if you play like a build like Lightning Strike, which gets Fortify on a tree or on your chest, purely because it allows you to have Fortify. Fortify is a huge defensive layer, and if you hit like multiple of the worms, you will get up to like 20 Fortify pretty easily. And it's very, very important, especially if you want to survive some of the intermission phases. And one last thing, I do think Warlord's Mark is incredibly underrated for mapping. It does allow you to have high uptime on Berserk. I actually did run it on a bow build, and because you don't really need the damage for Sniper's Mark when mapping, and it actually helps out your clear a lot. A lot of people don't know, but bow build's main weakness is definitely your move speed, as you don't have a movement skill. And when you have perma Berserk, it feels incredible. Now, thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know down in the comments below if you would ever try this out. I do know it's a little bit micro-intensive to have to juggle all of this, especially when you're fighting a boss. For me, personally, it's more fun. Makes a stupid Cyrus fight a lot more enjoyable. And yeah, but thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more mirrors, exalted orbs, and divines than me. And see you next time. Bye.